is Bob Andelman, and this is the Mr. Media interview. You just can't pigeonhole Billy Bob Thornton. Think about the movie roles he's most famous for and see what, if any, connection there is. Carl in Sling Blade, Hank Grotowski in Monsters Ball, Morris Buttermaker in Bad News Bears, Coach Gaines in Friday Night Lights, and my favorite, Willie in Bad Santa. Who would figure that the guy who portrayed so many varied and somewhat disturbed characters had a musical soul, too? But this month, Billy Bob Thornton's fourth CD, Beautiful Door, will be released. It's a collection of original contemporary songs with a touch of country, all written and sung by Thornton. He also is the drummer on the album's tracks. And just like his choices as an actor, no two songs on the album are easily matched and categorized. You'll recognize his deep voice instantly on the somber opening ballad, It's Just Me, but be surprised that it's also him on the rockin' Hope for Glory. Billy Bob Thornton, welcome to Mr. Media.
Well, thank you for having me.
Pleasure to have you here. Billy Bob, this was my first exposure to your music, and I got to admit, I was a little surprised at how gentle and calm most of it is.
Yeah, it's kind of a vibey record, you know. When we play live, we're a little bit more of a big rock show, you know. And on the records, you know, we tend to, you know, do kind of, you know, somewhere in between, you know, J.J. Cale and Johnny Cash, you know, kind of stuff. But, you know, I've always been into real moody records, and that's what we try to do. We, like you said, we got a couple of tunes that are a little more raucous, but for the most part, it's a real vibey record.
It was a little against type from what I was expecting, I guess, or what I thought the type was. Obviously, I was wrong. Is this album very different from the three that preceded it?
Well, it's pretty similar to the first one, Private Radio, as well as the third one, which was called Hobo. But the second record we did was called Edge of the World, and was it was kind of all over the map, that record, our second one. It had, you know, everything from rock songs to country songs on it, and, you know, you can't do that anymore. These days, people want records that, you know, kind of sonically and lyrically all fit the same vibe, you know, like it used to be in 1968 or 70. You could have a record with all types of songs on it. Mm-hmm. But people don't, I'm not sure if it's the people or record labels, but they want to put it in a category, and I suppose a lot of that's because of the radio. When I was a kid, you would hear James Taylor and Black Sabbath on the same station.
Yeah.
You know, you hear, there's the contemporary country station, and then there's the pop station, and everybody has to be in a category.
Mm-hmm. Well, plus, with the downloading of music, people can just pick the songs that they want. So if it's not all of a type, they may pick that one, you know, they may pick one particular song that they like, but if the next one doesn't sound like it, they're only going to take that one song.
Right, exactly.
Now, I guess the Billy Bob I was expecting was the one in the song I Can Tell You, the guy who says, I can tell you some crazy stories, I bet they'd make you run away.
Right.
Not so many of those kind of stories in there.
Yeah, you know, it's funny when people say, you know, something is seems to be a personal record, or is it autobiographical? It's always a little of both, you know. I mean, most things you write about, they're stories that either you've observed or been involved in, or are yourself, you know. I mean, I think the best way to write is from, you know, personal experience. Like, for instance, I wouldn't make a very good science fiction writer. You know, I pretty much have to write about stuff that I've either observed or been involved in myself.
You haven't been in outer space?
Well, in some ways I have.
Okay.
No question about it.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah.
What is it now? I know you've been playing music an awful long time, and I mean you've got your chops. But what drives you to keep making music now? I mean, certainly you're not in it for the income.
Well, I'm not in movies for the income either. If I didn't love it and want to do it, I wouldn't. If I wasn't having fun at it and didn't get fulfillment from it, because there's a lot of jobs you can make money at. I mean, I could have gone into the oil business or something maybe, but I doubt they would have had me. But it's kind of funny. I end up answering a lot of questions about. I guess the answer to that would be, my answer would be the same answer as Tom Petty or the Fall Out Boys or Jack White or Ozzy Osbourne. I'm not sure what they would answer if you asked them that question. But I would imagine it would be, well, what else would I do?
Are you more likely to hang out with musicians or actors?
I hang out mostly with musicians. I have a few actor friends, not many, and most of the ones that I have are not very famous ones. They're guys that I came up in the theater with, mostly. And I think, frankly, I don't hang out with many famous people at all. I've got all these kids, so I kind of just stay home and don't do much of anything. Play with kids and record music, and then when I go away, it's usually to make a movie or go on tour with the band.
I suspect, without getting into it, that you've had enough exposure to being very famous and very visible, and you could certainly choose to one or the other, to be famous and visible or not to be. And,
yeah. It's that part of it is not my favorite part. The old going out in public part. I'm still embarrassed by it, frankly.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Well, does the musician in you make different choices than the actor?
No, it's pretty much the same thing. I guess there have been choices as an actor that have been slightly different than I do in music. I mean, if I were playing music to sell 5 million records, I would certainly write different kinds of music than I do. I don't exactly write commercial music. I have, however, as an actor, a couple of times done bigger movies. Armageddon, for instance, stuff like that.
Right.
But I doubt you'll ever see me making some kind of pop or a hip-hop record, or a contemporary country record either.
And you haven't made the musical equivalent of Bad News Bears yet either?
No, although we got a few coming out pretty soon on another record that could be a little bit Bad Santa-like.
Really? Oh, yeah. Okay, got to pause there and tell us more about that.
Well, my band is called the Boxmasters, and we are making a record under just the band name, which won't have my name on it, but it's the same exact people. So the record's going to have an explicit lyric sticker on it, but it's kind of a hillbilly punk record.
Wow.
Which is something we do live a lot.
That should be very interesting.
We're opening for ourselves on tour.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Do you get paid double when you do that? How does that work?
Oh, no, the Boxmasters only get like $200 a night for the whole band. And they have to ride another bus and everything. Even though it's the same band, we still treat ourselves really bad when we're the Boxmasters.
I was going to say,
we treat ourselves as an opening act.
So, I think in my old days of covering music years ago, I think the attitude was always, you always had an opening band that was never as good as the headliner.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. We try to be just as good.
Okay.
But, we still treat ourselves like crap when we're the headliner.
I got it. Now, have your music and film careers ever met? Has any of your music accompanied a film, for example, or have you been able?
Actually, I've cut a couple of songs for TV shows that are not out yet, that are coming out. I was asked to do a Hank Williams cover for a Canadian television show that's going to be on this coming year, and then there's another show on HBO that we did an opening credit song for. And so I've done that, but I haven't done anything for my own movies, you know. I tend to be more willing to do music for a movie that I don't have anything to do with, really. I try to keep the two as separate as possible.
I understand. Well, let me ask you this. Could you pick out a song or two from Beautiful Door and maybe tell us a little about them?
Well, the song Beautiful Door, the title song, is really just a song about, it's an anti-war song, really. And normally I haven't put real political songs on my records. This whole record, really, the theme of it is life and death, and how important life is and how we need to treat it, and about having to face death. And it's both on a personal level and a global level, you know. I mean, there's a song on there that's about not judging a book by its cover. There's 3 sort of anti-war songs, as well as a couple of songs about suicide and how that affects the people you leave behind because of your choice. So it's really a record about life and death. And the song Beautiful Door is really about religion being mixed with war and politics so much. And how it seems that the people that die are the people who don't really care. You know, it's like the people who aren't involved in it are the people that usually get it, and the big chiefs are the ones that live, except for in a couple instances recently. But you know, and it doesn't point fingers at any particular group. It points a finger at everybody. You know, the East as well as the West and everything. You know, so the song is as much about the you know, our system as it is anybody else's. It's just saying, look, if you guys want to, if you think there's some magical answer on the other side of some door into the heavens or whatever, and as long as, and if you kill, you know, to get there, that's okay. Well, you can believe that if you want, but don't take any of the rest of us with you, because that's not what everybody believes.
Do you feel as you get a little older, you've got kids, early teens, and a young daughter? Do you feel more willingness, or more? Are you more prone to speak out about politics and things like that at this point because of your kids or your, you know, maturity?
Well, they definitely affect the way I think and what I do, but I don't really speak out that much sort of publicly about politics. I'm not that educated about it. I tend to more do it as a character in a movie or as in a song or something. I don't go to many rallies because I don't know what I would say. I'm not really a politician. Now there are some actors, you know, and musicians and a lot of people who are real educated on politics and can speak about it way better than I can. I just kind of say what I feel personally in these songs, but I certainly wouldn't be able to go before Congress or anything like that because I'm not educated enough.
And it sounds like you might actually be a little shy about doing that, even if...
Probably.
Yeah. Now, on the lighter side of things, I see that Graham Nash sings background vocals on a couple of tracks. I was wondering how that came about.
Graham and I had a lot of mutual friends over the years, and we always tried to hook up and do something together. And we were asked by a company to do a surround sound mix of one of his songs, one of my songs, and then do one together for this thing up in Vegas that they had, this, you know, sort of a techie conference, you know, to demonstrate this equipment.
Okay.
And so during the process, we fell in love with each other's songs that we'd just written, and he really loved the song Beautiful Door, and as well as Hope for Glory, and I Can Tell You. On those 3 songs, he does a background vocal part. So it was pretty nice to be able to harmonize with Graham Nash, let me tell you.
I would say that would probably be kind of a career highlight.
Oh, it was really great. He's such a terrific guy, and I've always been a huge fan of his. He's really the only guest star on the record.
Good one to have.
The record was made by just me and Brad Davis, who's my co-writer and guitar player, and Teddy Andriotis, who plays organ and piano for us, and they're both in my touring band too. And then on bass was Lee Sklar, who, if you're gonna have a bass player, that's the guy to have. He plays predominantly these days with Phil Collins, but Lee and I are old friends.
Well, let's talk about movies for a moment or two before we wrap up. I'm very curious about this. If you were getting together with your own buddies and were going to share a favorite story from the making of a movie, what would it be?
Here's Daddy, that's right. I guess I would have to say I made a movie. Well, there are probably more stories from Bad Santa than anything else. I made a movie in San Quentin years ago, and so for about 2 months we were shooting in San Quentin, and that alone was a pretty big deal. Every day was kind of a well, you can imagine you're shooting in one of the heaviest prisons in the country. It was pretty odd. But the thing is, to tell like anecdotes about, what happened on the set. Like sometimes you'll be asked, you got any funny stories about what happened, on the set one day or whatever. Well, there's so many of them, you can never think of one. It's like when somebody comes to visit and you're supposed to take them out to a restaurant in your own town, you can't think of one. And mostly it's just like a general vibe on a movie, and crazy things happen every day. But, I don't know. Probably the funniest story that ever happened on any movie was on a movie called Pushing 10 that I did with John Cusack up in Canada. The story is way too long to tell here, but let's just put it this way. We played a pretty decent practical joke on John, who has a weak stomach, and we got him good. It was a very elaborate plan, and about 2 weeks later he got me back, and we'll just say it involved a sheep, a real live sheep, and some lingerie.
All right. I think for those who are listening to this as audio, that will give them something to think about. What is it that you might see in a script that would get your attention as an actor? I mean, and to the contrary, are there any roles you'd like to be able to erase from your IMDb listing?
Well, maybe some stuff early on. I mean, since I was a well-known actor, I don't think so. I mean, I've been pretty satisfied with everything. I mean, some I like better than others, but certainly nothing I'm ashamed of. Early on in my career, there are a few, but that's back when you can't say no.
Right.
And the thing that attracts me is really the story and the characters. I'm not that big on tricky stuff. I mean, I usually don't look for a movie that has the surprise. It was the butler kind of ending or whatever. Like really tricky stories don't interest me. I like simple stories with complex characters.
And I think that my favorite Christmas movies of all time would have to be Christmas Vacation, Chevy Chase, and Bad Santa. It just never fails to entertain and make you fall down laughing. But I wondered, what movies would a guest see at your house during the holidays?
Usuals, Miracle on 34th Street, It's a Wonderful Life, and then it's not easy for me to sit and watch my own movie, but I have to say I actually watch Bad Santa. It gives me a kick. So
really,
I don't mind watching Bad Santa.
Now, do you watch Bad Santa or Badder Santa?
We usually watch Badder Santa. Yeah.
Finally, what's coming up next? I see you've completed something called Mr. Woodcock, but I don't know anything about that.
Mr. Woodcock is a New Line movie starring myself and Susan Sarandon and Sean William Scott, and it's a comedy, pretty dark comedy about a gym teacher, sort of the gym teacher from hell, you know. And
that wouldn't be you, would it?
Actually, it is. Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Bad Santa in gym shorts. But it's coming out in September. I think it's September 21st. I'm not positive on that date, but
okay.
That's from New Line Cinema, and it's definitely out in September. And then I've got I'm attached to 7 movies over the next 2 years.
Wow.
And there's just no start dates on them all. You know, they're trying to figure this out after my tour. We're touring August 1st through the first week of September. And mostly hitting the Pacific Northwest and Western Canada, the West Coast, and then down south.
Okay. Well, it's good to know that you won't be bored in the months to come.
No, you know, with all these kids and tours and movies, I'm pretty busy.
Good. Well, Billy Bob, thank you so much for joining us today on Mr. Media.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate it. And, folks, if you'd like to keep up with Mr. Media's Friday interviews, you can subscribe to the site via email at www.mrmedia.com. You can also subscribe to the audio feed in the podcast section of iTunes. Thanks for joining us. Please come back next week for another Fridays with Mr. Media.